Hello, I am Paul or Scarecrow1779, and I won the 2025 Commander Clash with Veteran Beast Rider.
If you like what we do here, be sure to like and subscribe. Even support us on Patreon. Now let's go. Good morning, my friends. When I say good morning, I say good morning at 7:30 in the morning on Sunday after the cPDH Commander Clash 2025 tournament, the very first tournament that was ever held in the cPDH.guide server. I know it wasn't held or hosted by me. I know. So it was an interesting day. The premise was that people would join this tournament. They would brew something featuring a commander exclusively released in 2025. No reprints, no anything, new printing, 2025. That's it. And we were expecting, as Paul and I will get into, oh yeah, by the way, that's Paul. As Paul and I will get into in a moment, we were expecting a little bit more of something and a little bit less of other things, but then, that all worked itself out. So I am in my bathrobe because it is 7:25 in the morning. Paul has triplets at home, so early morning is the best time prior to them waking up. And in fact, if he looks down to his left, to the right of the screen, he's got a baby monitor there that has the visuals on the kid. So if we have to stop for a second and then come back, damn him for having children, I guess, right? Especially 3 at once. So yeah, this
Getting it all the way at once. It's fine.
Exactly, and that's really the best way. So this interview is special for reasons that will be covered in a different episode later, different video later. But most notably, so in the modern era, Paul was the very first big tournament winner, and at the time we didn't have an interview mechanism for winners of tournaments. And it's actually kind of funny. I won't say any names, but it was actually through the bratty actions of a particular winner who stomped their foot about not getting interviewed that I was like, fine, I guess I'll do something. I'm the guy that does something. So I missed the opportunity to interview Paul way back when, and we're kind of making up for that. It was kind of our plan from the beginning. We talked this last week. I was like, dude, you got to win, because no, we didn't discuss any of this at all.
I'm going to go 0-3. It'll be fine.
I went 0-2. I dropped. It's awesome. So yeah, okay. So Commander Clash 2025. It was hosted by Ginger, Ginger Pine X Ginger in Discord. Also the same Ginger who is heading up that the world domination of the cPDH League down in Iowa. And yeah, I did not expect 20-something people. I think we had 24 people to start, and then attrition. So we started off for the first tournament. Now, granted, I can't remember the last time there was a online tournament.
I believe it was Common Cause 9,
which would have been 3 months ago.
Yeah. I want to say it was late July, early August. Somewhere in there.
So, damn, 5-6 months ago. So I suspect that people were hungry for an outing. I feel like the concept of choosing commanders from the given year was not limiting. So it provided enough agency. Magic players and their agency, man. So it provided enough opportunities for them to select the things that they wanted to select, brew the archetypes they wanted to brew, and then bring that forth for playing in this particular tournament. So I didn't hear a single complaint from anybody about anything. Now, of course, I wasn't the TO for this, so it seemed as though that everything went smoothly. Everybody was in the holiday spirit.
Yeah, it seemed like all the technical difficulties, or like it was all like tech difficulties on the client side, or it was like people having trouble getting there right at the minute they needed to be.
Yeah. So some minor scheduling, but I mean, if that's the worst of it, it seemed, yeah. I asked around yesterday because because I lost pretty affirmatively in the first 2 rounds and was to say that I was disheartened.
You get for playing what everyone expects.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I didn't have time to switch up, So I did have the opportunity to kind of like, hang out in the Hangout channel and like ask people like, hey, were you experiencing some tight play in your pods? Was it because we had quite a few new people, or at least names that I didn't recognize. So, Paul and I
got to contribute to that. So I've been playing casually with a friend of mine for like 2 years now, on and off, and he's always had a mild interest in like playing in a PDH tournament. And like after Common Cause, or around the time of Common Cause 9, I started like mentioning it to him, like, hey, if you want to, like, we could work on getting you ready for the next online tournament. And I've been very slowly like working him up to it. Like, okay, here's what the combo commanders are, and here's how you fight them. Here's what they look like. Here's what you target. Here's some of the decks that you've shown interest in, or like here's kind of the play style, your play style as I see it, and here's some other options. And whenever this tournament was announced, it was absolutely perfect for that, because okay, a little more limited meta, it's easier to like have them ready for like 90% of what they're going to see, and it just made it even smoother. And they already had stuff that was made this year that they were interested in, so it lined up perfect. They got to make a new deck, and it made it a little easier for them to know what to expect in the meta.
So the thought occurred to me, so we can this tournament is praiseworthy for a multitude of reasons, which I'm sure we'll cover, even more in depth over the next little bit. But like, I would be remiss if I didn't extend to you the very same opportunity that I extend to most first time Winter Circle attendees. Because I mean, damn the fact that we talk like 4 times a week. I know the hell out of you. Well, as much as one can from 1,000 miles away. Who are you, and how did you get into Pauper Commander?
So my name's Paul. I got into Pauper Commander because I was playing in kind of a little more an area without a lot of American English-speaking Magic players, and so there were only like maybe 2-3 pods of players that I had access to. So it was either play their way or play not at all. And they were a bunch of legacy heads that were playing cards like Chains of Mephistopheles, Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, etc. in their decks. And we also had, it was a very not like, we were playing high power but not competitive, because mostly they like were not players that enjoyed counterspell wars. So it was just high power with a lot of stacks and board wipes. And we had a ton of things like Muldrotha popping Pernicious Deed and replaying it, or Duretti bringing back Nev's Disc several times. Like, it was a miserable, grindy meta filled with incredible bombs. And I'm very much a brewer at heart. I want to constantly be brewing something new. So my brand new $300-$400 moderately budget brew that I had just thrown together and tested a bit never, ever, ever got off the ground with this pod, always got crushed. So it just felt like I wasn't able to really do what I wanted with this pod, and it was costing me a lot of money trying to keep up. So I had been kind of experimenting with my own proto version of Pauper Commander using only legendaries. Like on the side, I built it as like built from bulk budget stuff to do with friends. And then in 2017, yeah, end of 2017, I discovered the subreddit and the PDH home base site and realized that this was an actual format. And that was like right when home base was in its infancy. And I started getting really active on the subreddit, started brewing my own, like, what I think of as true Pauper Commander decks, where they're built to, like, not just built from bulk, but and have an understanding of actual rules, playing with 30 life, etc. My first was Savage Ventmaw, and I just kind of ran from there back when there was no such thing as competitive.
Nice.
And yeah, got involved on the subreddit, ended up getting a mod invite from Ruff again. From there, I moved to like writing. I wrote stupid long posts there, ended up writing one that was about the fall of the New World Order, the old design principles that we were seeing eroding, like especially around War of the Spark, how we were getting more complicated commons and how that was going to be good and amazing, a big change up for Pocket Commander.
Boy, it's almost like you were looking into the future, huh?
A little bit. So that ended up becoming my intro to the PDA's home base team. Was I turned that very long Reddit post into an article, and then from there, eventually, I just couldn't keep my nose out of the chats where people were discussing rules stuff, and eventually ended up on the RC because I couldn't keep my mouth shut and my opinions to myself.
So this is a very important aspect of Paul that if you engage with him in the digital area, he doesn't just give you one particular aspect of a thing. He will think through every related aspect of a thing and give you a whole narrative. And he's very self-aware about that. It doesn't stop him from doing it. He's just aware. Oh, that's awesome. So like ultimately that that I was going to say ended, but like we've gotten, so that went into how big was the RC before it was 10? Was it 5?
10, I want to say we had like 7, 8, then 12, then down to 10 for a bit.
Okay.
There was
So
a minute when it was huge.
So you were part of the original like core formulation, of the group back was that 2019?
Yeah, back when it wasn't even like a separate RC chat, it was just like, I don't know, technically these 6 or 7 people had rogered up and said, I want to be on the RC, but we were still just having discussions in the same chat with all the article writers and site manager, etc.
Sweet. Yeah, little lore that most people didn't know about. They've known about the shifts over the years with the RC. Anyway, this isn't about that because that could lead us into territory. Okay, cPDH Commander Clash 2025. Obviously, you won the damn thing with Veteran Beast Rider, a deck that you and I have talked about for the last year. Ever since I saw it in Chicago, actually, ever since I got my poop pushed in by a Veteran Beast Rider deck in Chicago.
You didn't talk to me about that. I had developed this independently, and then I mentioned it to you like, holy crap, I've been testing this, and I love it. And this was before Commander Clash was ever announced, and I've been developing it kind of in secret. I was planning on like, maybe first tournament of next year, rolling it out into the general meta, but then like this was announced and I was like, I know what I'm playing. Like, done. 5-second decision.
Yeah, I've been talking. Well, I looped you into it because we talk in the mornings. Yeah, we talk in the mornings, and I think I may have mentioned it to you once about like, damn, I should really build that deck. So anyway, the moral of the story is I really should have built that deck. Yep. Obviously, so. Getting into the prep time, so this is a good opportunity. You made mention earlier of indoctrinating a friend of yours into online meta. So typically, like how did you prepare for this? So I figured that's a good place for that.
So, like I mentioned a second ago, it was a 5 second decision to figure out what I was playing when this was announced. So, as soon as the tournament was announced and we could look at, okay, here's the pool of commanders. Um, when I think everyone went through the same process of everyone individually looking through the pool of commanders and realizing, okay, Black Waltz and then Longshot will be similar. Like Black Waltz, Carrier Goldkeeper, Biomech and Engineer, these three are going to be some of the standouts that people are going to gravitate to because they're already well developed and have seen a good bit of competitive play. And so that kind of the initial first draft in everyone's head of what's the meta going to look like was going to be Storm and Infinite Combo heavy. Like even after hearing a bunch of people him and haw, we still like a week ago were thinking it was going to be like 9 or 10 out of 20, 21, 24, somewhere in that range people. We still thought that like between a third and a half we're going to be playing burn or burn, like Storm burn. So that's kind of everyone's baseline expectation. And Beast Rider already plays so the concept of Beast Rider is it untaps all your creatures at your end step. So play a ton of mana dorks, play out big threats, have your mana dorks untap at your end step, so you always have mana for removal. And then that's also mana for draw engines like Wanderzone to refill your hand with more threats, more removal. So that style of ramp gives you some rather chunky life gain payoffs, like Orchard Strider dropping 2 foods that you can then tap your dorks to eat. And then it's got plenty of removal. I want to say I'm at somewhere between 20 and 25 slots of removal for the deck. So it has the ability to deal with combo. It has the ability to deal with life gain. That was check. All right, I'm in on Beast Right. So that's what we thought the meta was going to look like.
Mm-hmm. So
what it actually ended up looking like was there were only 6 burn decks, and 3 of those were Storm, 3 of them were slower. And then there were a smattering of combo decks with only, I think there was a single Carrier Goldkeeper, right?
let me bring up there was a single.
I got notes on that. I just went through the pods I played.
Yeah, there's once a singular Carrier Goldkeeper.
Yep. And then there was no Biomech and Engineer, which is discount Gretchen, right?
Nope.
Yep. But there were several like mono blue combo decks that were trying to do flicker things, as well as like Long Fang, trying to do plus one counter like Persist.
There's two Long Fangs.
Yeah. Yep. Persist or Brute Scale combos.
Let me read these off. So we had an Apocalypse Runner, which is so
that gives takes a pinger, gives it life gain with the commander, pings the table, gains a bunch of life.
So there were 2 Wraiths. So Wraith Vicious Vigilante. There was 1 Black Waltz. There was 1 Carrier Goldkeeper, 1 Grand, 1 Skirmish Rhino, 1 Guidelight Pathmaker, 1 Sid Timeless Artificer, 1 is that Il or Ilmeg Pixie?
I think it's Ilmeg. Yeah. That's how I was pronouncing it in my head anyway.
There was 1 Tanook, Memorial Ensign. There was 1 Spider-Man India, 2 Longfang Grand Secretariats, 1 Lila Holographic Assistant, 2 Longshot Rebel Bowmen, 1 Rydia Summoner of Mist, 1 Summon Anima, 1 Rocketeer Boost Buggy, which is the most fun thing to say ever. 1 Emperor, the Emperor of Palamecia, and 1 Veteran Beast Rider.
And Tanook was another one of those that I definitely expected to see a second one of. That was another burn deck that was just kind of, it was developed a bit over the summer. We saw it at, I believe, I don't remember if there was one at RIW, but there was definitely multiple at the All That Games tournament.
I never got any of the RIW data, so I would presume there was at least one, because, hot new special.
I compiled that but not important.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. Yeah, so a lot less burn than we expected, and it did seem that the first round or two, all of the burn concentrated into one or two pods, and those people had the time they expected. Whereas my pods were very consistently combat heavy, and it was very novel for competitive. Like there was still a lot of interaction. There were still combo decks lurking that you had to constantly have your interaction up for, but it actually made it pretty hard because my deck functions on like, okay, I have a 6/4, and normally that's enough to just beat the crud out of a combo deck. But how do I deal with, okay, that guy's growing a 7/7 on his side of the board? How do I deal with that with my threats that are not going to get bigger?
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that. You said, that's an astute point that all of the pingers pretty much got aggregated early together,
Yeah, because like
which
round
made
one,
that experience wonderful for me. Because I was in the group. I was the slower pinger deck in the faster pinger pods.
was that the round one game that ended like turn 5?
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was me on Black Waltz, and we had another person on Long Shot, and I did the first 8 damage, and then Long Shot over 2 turns was like, sit down, kid, I got this.
Yep.
Gross. So that was that.
The other thing that was interesting was round one was a stupid amount of draws. Like, so out of the 5 games that actually fired round one, 3 of them were draws. So I know. So Cobra Man was playing Tanuk, and he was doing a good job burning the table. The 2 games I had with him, he very much like drew a lot of political attention. But that deck, like I had really underestimated how rough it is to play that with a time limit on it because it's so many shuffle trigger. Like go fetch a land and then shuffle. But a lot of times you can't hide the shuffling behind other people's actions because you a lot of times get a draw trigger and after the shuffle, and that might matter to what's going on this turn. So you like have to finish shuffling and get your draw, then okay, let's proceed. And that happens like a dozen.
Well, that might be
times.
That might be too, like I mean, technically a deck is mostly randomized, even though you're kind of filtering through it to find a land. So if we accept the fact that it's already randomized to a degree, then going to find your land, pop it out on the thing, and then 1, 2, 3,
yep,
done.
It's a lot of action to go through, a lot of hand movement, a lot of communication. Especially if, so what I saw a lot was he would get his basic land count fairly low. So, or like, oh, I'm doing Into the North, got to search for a snowland. Like a lot of the tutors, like searching for something specific or like basics were getting scarce. So there were a lot of times he had to go through like a lot of his deck. But that contributed to one of the draws in round one, from what I heard, along with just that burn deck being against a lot of life gain, and being the leading kind of the person that was leading, taking down the table, but there was countermeasures to them. And then another one of them that was a draw, I heard Ryan Papa Popper was absolutely dumpstering people with stupid amounts of edicts.
mono black control coming from Ryan. This is my surprise face.
Yep. But my round one was, as I mentioned before, very stompy. So it was Alcadron on Booster Buggy, which he played at RIW, and when he talked about it then, I did not understand it. But after getting to see it this tournament, it was really cool. So Booster Buggy is a gruel vehicle that can exhaust to basically permacrew itself. And when the important part is when it attacks, you create a treasure. So he has a moderately sized beat stick that generates mana advantage and a bunch of artifact tokens. And the whole premise of the deck is I'm going to eventually play out an ATOG, make it massive, beat someone's face in, and then fling it at someone to kill them. And that's exactly what happened to me round one. So round one, it was Alk on Booster Buggy, OMG Chris on Wraith, and Magus of the Jank on Kira Goldkeeper. Goldkeeper, we kind of kept controlled all game. It was like I had a 4/5 flyer, the plane cycler, and I just we got him low on life total pretty fast, and then I was just attacking with my 4/5 flyer every turn, and he had to like he blocked with Carry Goalkeeper like 3 times to save himself from dying. So we kept him completely just shut down. So then Wraith was drawing a lot of my attention because there's a lot of potential for like, oh surprise, I'm going to deal 12 commander damage to you in one go. It is fairly easy, sometimes more with Wraith. It gets out of hand real fast. For those that don't know, it's white, blue, 1/1 double strike unblockable for 3.
Which is fascinating in an Azorius creature, by the way.
Yeah, and that's also what my friend that I got in that this was his first tournament. He was playing and he won his round 3 against the same Wraith player that I played in round 1. So yeah, that's kind of where my attention was, and I was just letting Alcadron do his thing, and then suddenly I just got bodied. I was at 30, 31 life, somewhere in there, and then Chris, in his dying gasp, he's like, I'm about to die. This is my last turn. Do I just like sit and not kingmake? And Alex like, no, you're my only chance to win. And if Paul dies, that's your only chance to maybe then killing me. So like that's your out, bud. It's not kingmaking. So Chris dealt me like 10 damage. I wasted a little bit of interaction trying to like stop that just because I was paranoid. And I shouldn't have. I should have saved that, and that would have helped. It wouldn't have actually helped, but it would have made me feel better about trying to stop Alex going off. But Alk had an ATOG equivalent, pumped it up to like high teens power, and he, as part of that final turn, he played an impulse draw spell, and impulse drew into fling and killed me with it. So I had been kind of sandbagging my life gain because I didn't want to artificially inflate my life total and make myself even more of a punching bag for the table, and I should have been padding my life total. And I paid for it.
I wish in this moment, because this is an interaction that I did talk to Alk about yesterday. I wish I was smart enough then, because this is before you won the tournament, so there was no way for me to know. He described this thing, and the way Dave like talks about stuff is so animated and flowery and fun. So I wish I would have had the foresight to like record that so I can insert it in. Because I mean, you're like, I got absolute bodied. So the way he described it was in a similar way, but like, I'm hanging out, Paul's doing stuff, other people doing stuff, and then, oops, oh no, I accidentally found this thing. I win. Whee!
Well, it was legitimately, Alec thought he was out of it because without the fling, I was like, he had a high teens power trample blocker, and I was throwing like a 6/6 in front of it, a colossal dread mask. So I was only going to take like 8 damage, I think, over the top of that, maybe 10. I think he could have pumped it up to like 14. Like I take 14 damage over the top if he burned all his artifacts. But like that still wasn't going to be enough to kill me, and I was going to stabilize. It was literally the part of the cards like off the top of the deck, that fling. That's what won him the game.
Beautiful.
And then he had Gravitic Punch to finish off the other 2 players over the next turn. So his deck did the thing, and it was really cool.
The way that he also talks, I can't repeat it. I wish I could, but the way that he enunciates gravitic punch, is yeah. So I get to hear externally about your game. Given the narrative that was provided to me at the time, there was no way of knowing that you were going to make it through. That almost felt like, at least from Dave's narrative standpoint, that was like the death knell for you. As you progressed into the new, the next rounds, when did you feel like you might have a shot?
Round 3. Round 1, loss. Round 2 was a draw. So I had a game. My round 2 was Jack or Ilios on Spider-Man India. So he was playing Selesnya Voltron. Then Bill Wild Bill was on Lila, I think is how you pronounce it. Mono blue, +1/+1 counters, draw, dig, find a flicker combo, I presume was the combo he was going for.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a hybrid deck there. And then Cobra Man on Tanuki. And Tanuki was the threat of the game. So with Beast Rider, because I untap all my creatures at my instep,
Mm-hmm.
I usually have a wall of beef for defense that if people are going for like opportunistic chip damage, it's not coming for me a lot of times, unless they have like a flyer and I just happen to not have something with reach. A lot of
Wall
times,
of beef.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I mentioned Colossal Dreadmask and a 4/5 flyer
Mm.
in game one. So that gives you an idea. Like, here's an untapped 3/4, a 4/5 with flying, and a 6/6. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
So round two, a lot of the attention was focused on Cobra, and I was very much letting him suck the air out of the room. Let me chip at people. Let people think the burn player is the real threat. I'm not dealing with Cobra. I'm leaving most of his burn engines on the field because I have some life gain, and I'm going to ride that to make the burn engines someone else's problem. And for the most part, that worked. It came down to an extremely grindy finish where, like, both of us had exhausted our removal, and I had a bit of a board advantage and had slowed his burn and found a little more life gain. So it looked like I was going to win, but we ended up running out of time. If we had like 2 more turns, like 5-10 minutes, I would have pulled off that win. But it was a very grindy game, and there was a lot of like mid game, like sitting, thinking, what's the line, what's the politics.
Right on. So we get in. So I was looking at the top deck, and I don't know what the deal is with this damn platform. So round 1 loss, round 2 draw, round 3 win, top 10 win. Top 4 win. So according to the match history, you should have 3 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw. But then looking at
the points they're showing is only prior to top 10 cut.
That explains it, which is really misleading. Because Russell and Alk had like commanding days, and then here you are at the top of the pile with like almost half the points.
Yep.
Okay.
So I was very much in a chair and a prayer territory with round 3.
Okay. So now that makes more sense that the points were only accumulated before top 10 cut, which is an artifact of this is the second time Cloudy Commons is the first time that I experienced well, I didn't personally experience, I got to witness a a top 10 cut. And I don't know, I like this premise of the top 2 players get a bye and then everybody else fights for position 3 and 4.
I feel kind of mixed on it because it feels like on some level, if there's other people that want to keep playing that didn't make top 10, like they're okay with their losses, they just want to jam another game, like just have another round of Swiss and cut to top 4 off points and just let other people get an additional game while they're there. It all like, so especially for like middle-sized tournaments like this, it feels a little bit unnecessary when you're only cutting to half the population.
That's
like I think when you get up to like 28 plus people, it makes sense.
Right on. It's interesting. I think it's something that folks should explore. To your point, for the smaller tournaments like 12, 14, 16, however many people below 20, it might not make as much sense to do so. Of course, I haven't really operated the TO software behind the scenes, so I don't know if it's something you set up ahead of time or can do in the moment as a selection. But no,
if I remember correctly, the Riches to Rags in Philly also did top cut to 10 at the beginning of the year.
Nice. So maybe it's just an option they just recently put into the software. No, I find it interesting. I hope we see more of it, more from your perspective, and the fact that it's because our tournaments are getting larger and larger, which they
February's
do.
Looking like good month. So there's an online tournament coming in January. Like a week from now, there's another paper tournament at All That Games in Detroit. And then February is going to have 3 big paper tournaments. So there's one in Minneapolis. Then there's one in Newburgh, New York, if I remember correctly, that already has like 33 people signed up. Like that one might be on track to be the biggest paper tournament yet. And then at the end of the month, if I remember the order correctly, is another Riches to Rags in Philly. So like 3 weeks back to back to back, 3 big paper tournaments, which is really cool because in the online scene, we've shied away from any structure like that, and people space things out because you're worried about the same people like wanting to be at multiple tournaments.
Yep.
And Philly and New York, sure, maybe there's some people that would like to go to both. But for the most part, having it be paper tournaments, it's going to be largely separate scenes, separate populations. So there's no reason they can't be stacked right on top of each other like that. And they won't see a drop off in players because of it. So just a really cool evolution of what the competitive scene looks like.
Yeah, this is a complete aside. But at the beginning of this year, I kind of made a promise to myself that I would try to engage with more LGSs to try to stimulate paper play and all of that. And I'm hopeful that 2026 will bear the fruit of that. The online meta is fine, but that's not how we grow. How we grow is in LGSs. So this is
commenting on that to someone else yesterday. Is it's not like there have been events happening, but those events are getting larger, and the other factor is they're getting more interconnected with the online sphere, whereas like it used to be very insular.
So yeah, that's been my plan. Of course, everything in the world doesn't happen to my plan and solely my plan. Other people independently come up with these ideas on their own. But I'm hopeful that at least at a minimum that we are. Yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a bumper year for in-person events. So be on the lookout. Show up. Do stuff. Do your part. Do my part. Okay.
Yeah, last year our Riches to Rags was capped at 32 people. I'm really curious to see if Dallas has this year
and goes up from there. Yeah, that is an interesting facet that we should be looking for. So you make it through getting back to the rounds. Right. You make it through the slog fest. Alk and Russell get to hang out. This is about the time that I'm actually talking with both of them in the chat because they've got a full like round off. So did you find your round 4, your top 10 round to be difficult?
So I think we skipped round 3.
Either way.
Yeah. So round 3 was the most intensely political of the day, and definitely the one where the first 2, it felt like my game to lose. And the first one, I definitely threw it. The second one, I kept in good position, and we just lost to the clock. The third one felt like I was on death's door for the middle part of the game. So Skirmish Rhino, Adam Beatbot God, the table, playing as commander, sacrificing his commander, reanimating his commander, just lots of drain, 2 at a time. And then Apocalypse Runner is a Rakdos Pinger deck, but it's also playing some decent control elements. So they later got out a Sunshot Militia. So those 2 are doing burn things, and then it's me and Lobert on combat strategies. Lobert's playing Sid, Timeless Artificer, and he very quickly had like +2, +3 buff to all his artifact creatures, and he's got a bunch of like 1/1s with flying that are now 4/4s, just chunking away at people. And then they're suddenly 5/5s, 6/6s. Like they were growing rather fast. He had a looting engine, so he was tossing extra artificers into the graveyard that adds to that anthem effect. And it's Lobert, so he's always playing with a little bit of blue or white mana up. He's got the interaction ready, always. Lobber is such a patient player, and it's so like it's hard to read, but usually you can just guess. He has tricks always. So Lobert's got his domineering wall of beef that is growing large enough that I soon won't be able to punch through it. I've been burned down to low life totals. Adam, being the life gain lover that he is, saw my early spirit link and got rid of that post haste before I could gain a single bit of life off. Because he knows what's up. So I was riding the struggle bus. I was down to like 11 life, staring down 2 burn engines, and was like so Duke Slayer was on Apocalypse Runner, and I was in a position like I need to kill you. Like that's just where I'm at. You've got Sunshot Militia. If I don't kill you, you're the reason I die. And the deal was, okay, he'll take a turn off of activating Sunshot Militia. Cool. I don't kill you. I push damage to the other 2. Lobert's now big enough, it's very difficult to push damage to him. So, okay, Adam gets piled in on. And then the next round, it comes to me, and Duke Slayer knows that the same deal is probably coming. Like, I either kill him because he's going to burn me to death, but really, I don't want to be attacking him. I want to be attacking Lobert. That wall of beef is getting too big. It's like Duke Slayer's the thing that's going to kill me sooner, but I'm really worried about the thing that's going to inevitably kill me later. Lobert's beef. So at that point, I think he had like a +5 or +6 buff to his artifact creatures. It was insane, and he had like 3 flyers. How are you going to get through that? So it ended up Lobber on his turn swung out because he was feeling a little more secure, only kept back 1 flyer. And then Duke offered to, okay, here's how I get Paul not to kill me. I'm going to give one of Paul's big beaters, because I had a 7/7 in the air and an 8/8 on the ground. I'm going to give one of those lifelink. He'll gain enough life, he won't feel like he needs to kill me. So I just swung in hard on Lobert because he was a higher life total than me before that. So he was less worried about the burn engines, and I needed him below me, so the burn engines were his problem. And that ended up working out. Duke was definitely going to kill us on his turn. He tried to Gangrenous Zombies activation with Touch of Moonglove. So it would have Death Touch, and every creature that dies from it, its controller loses to. And I had a board of like 8 creatures. I was going to die to that, but Lobber stopped it because that Duke was just going to run away with the game if he got the Moonglove off. So he just did a Gangrenous Zombies with lifelink that got him up to like 40 life. And then he became a little bit of the punching bag for Lobert for a bit, and things stabilized. But Lobert was at low enough life total that, yeah, the burn did its work and eventually picked him off, and I was able to clean up after that. But it was very tenuous in the middle there.
Yeah, the Gangrenous Zombies tech was something that I was extremely aware of in the round 1, and I had a choice of, because the reason why I don't play Gangrenous Zombies is because it's got a haste problem. Yep. So it hits the battlefield, and it's like hey, something's going to happen. So I was forced with, okay, do I use the 1 removal spell in my hand to get rid of the zombies before it loses summoning sickness, or do I get rid of the long shot? I chose the zombies because I knew there was a life gain component to it, and I lost to the long shot. So, but yeah. I couldn't have outburned, 40 life either,
Whereas I still had, like, even after losing some mana dorks, I had Scion of the Wilds, which is 3-drop green creature, power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you have. So works to Gangrenous Zombies, I still had like a 7/7 in the air and a 6/6 on the ground. So I was able to pile in and get that life total down pretty fast. But yeah,
I did not have Scion of the Wilds.
So you were asking, like, when did I have an inkling that I might have a chance? And it was the moment that the Touch of Moonglove was stopped and Lobert was on death's door. That's when there was a ray of hope. Like, I could actually make top 10 then.
Nice. So that took the pressure off, really moving into the top 10 rounds.
I mean, at that point, I have a win. I've already shown the deck can do things. Round 1, I showed people it was powerful. Round 2, I showed people it was powerful. Round 3, I won.
Mhm.
Like at that point, it's already mission accomplished. Everything else is gravy.
Nice. So you didn't go into that round thinking that you were going to win it. How did it play out?
So my kid's godmother was graciously over watching the triplets because my wife's out of town for business. And so I went into round 4 thinking, okay, even if I win this, I can't go to the finals because I have to go take care of the kids. And it wasn't like until I won and was like, okay, I could be in the finals. And she's like, yeah, just do it. I'll watch them. It'll be fine. So yeah, by the grace of friends and family.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Any particular notable things in that round that stand out,
So,
or did it go according to plan?
Round 4 mostly went according to plan. Ginger was on long shot, and I was up against my friend Duke Griff, who was on Wraith, and then Cobra Man on Tanuke. So one Stormburn deck, one slow burn deck, and then one Voltron deck that I helped design, so I know the tricks. So I knew Wraith had a big chance of bursts of life gain. And I had a chance very early on. I could stop his life gain or I could leave it be. And I ended up saving my removal because I was very worried about long shot. But I did manage to get a Armadillo Cloak on my commander. So that's a 5/6 trample lifelink. And I was just piling in with that every turn. And that let me keep up with all the burn going on. And Duke Griff kind of slow rolled his life gain. He had like lifelink on Wraith, but he slow rolled getting more buffs out because he was trying not to draw too much political attention. I think he was running a little low on interaction, so he was just trying to like wait until he drew more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was also like very mana gated. He didn't have enough to like both deploy his buffs and hold up the amount of interaction that he really wanted to. He had a lot of games where he was drawing fewer lands than he would like. He wanted to get up to like 6 lands, and he was stuck on like 4 or 5.
So I want to. You triggered something in my brain. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players with a single draw. 1, 2, 3, 4 players with 2 draws, and then 2 players with a win and a draw. No, actually, yeah, 2 players with a win and a draw. 1 player with a win and 2 draws. Well, actually, it's 3 players with a win and a draw. So draws at one point factored heavily in how that top 10 was going to be structured.
Yep.
So if you had a draw, you pushed out every person without one, with no points. So
yeah, but at the same time, it was very much feeling like, were there people that didn't make top 10 that had wins? There were what 14 or 15 games before the top 10 cut. So yeah, I guess there were probably some people with multiple wins that didn't make top 10.
No, I don't. No, I think there were so many people affected by the draws that the top 10 included everybody who had won a game and a lot of people that just drew a game, and then some of the drawn people were cut out based on opponent win rates.
Bill on Lila was the one person that made top 10 without a win because he was in 2 draws. Okay, so to me that says the draws only really made a difference for one person making it to top 10.
Yeah, on draws only. But how many of those other players had, a draw and a win, so it boosted their... Anyway.
Right, but if you're not in the top 2, it doesn't matter as much.
Mm-hmm.
So round 4, like, a lot of these games have the same shape. Round 2, round 4, both of those have a Tanuke. And then the top 4 had Emperor of Palmetia. So like 3 of my 5 games were very much shaped by, there's a big burn engine at the table. I have some life gain, I'm going to try to ride it out, let the burn engines do their thing, because they're going to draw all the political heat at the table, and it's going to let me accumulate my beef, and people aren't going to spend their removal on my beef as much because they're worried about the burn engine that's killing them sooner. So,
well, regarding that, I got to give a shout out to Russell. I made a comment yesterday. I was talking to Adam, and I was like, Russell's gameplay has improved so much this year. So it was no surprise to me. Yeah, he was more patient than I ever saw him. He was more calculated than I had ever saw him. So, like, shout out to that guy. Much improvement this year.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second, though, because that's finals. So top 4, so long shot, I actually used so Heliod's Pilgrim, went and grabbed my Armadillo Cloak, put that on the commander, do the life gain thing. Then play Shrine Steward, go tutor up a Temporal Isolation. I could have gotten another life gain or a Spirit Link and slap it on long shot, but then someone else just removes long shot because it's still their problem and they don't want it to benefit me. So that's kind of a debate I had the day before with, I think it was Garge. She was talking about you can get more life gain from putting it on someone else's burn engine. And I was hemming and hawing, sure, the ceiling's higher, but the floor is lower because you're more that's still a removal target for someone else. And now it's going to also get rid of your advantage. So I ended up not doing that at all this tournament and was always putting the life gain auras on my own stuff. So basically higher floor, lower ceiling of results, and it paid off. So I ended up holding that Temporal Isolation in hand. Temporal Isolation is a flash 2-cost white aura, gives shadow and prevent all damage that would be dealt by this creature, not just combat damage, all damage. So it stops burn engines. So I actually let Ginger try to go off on long shot. He had been pressured on life total to the point it was kill everyone now or die in the process. He had 1 turn to do it. So he stormed off, and I'm just sitting there holding this, and it's okay, I'm using him to kill the other 2 people at the table. I have 7, 8 more life than them. And I'm going to let him get them down to almost no life total, and then I'm going to prevent all the damage from his commander. He knows I have it in hand, but he has no option to go for it. He has to go for it anyway. So I kind of jumped the gun just a hair on it. I should have let him get 1 or 2 more spells off. But it did its job anyway. It got the board down to everyone was below 10. I was just above 10, and Ginger ended up making a bunch of goblins from Empty the Warrens at the end. But that's fine. So it was awkward trying to attack that last round, but me letting the burn do its thing finished the game quicker and drew a lot of removal to somewhere other than me. And it worked. So just being able to drop that Temporal Isolation on top of a damage trigger to stop it from dealing damage and stop the burn player in their tracks. I kind of had to deploy it early just in case he was instant, and there's more damage.
That's a nice little place for a minor segue, because I wanted to ask you this earlier when you were talking about the amount of time you've built or spent building Beast Rider. So Selesnya is not known for its premium removal or interaction packages. So what would be, so you expected a pinger meta. Pinger meta is not going away, moving into incorporating all decks, in future tournaments. There's going to be some component of that. I feel like whatever your removal that you decided on for this tournament has bearing and weight on future tournaments. What was some all-stars in removal beyond the Temporal Isolation?
So big element of the deck is I have a lot of mana. So having a lot of mana means I can use the aura tutors a lot more easily. Because, even if you're just talking about Heliod's Pilgrim, that's still 3 mana to play and at least 1 mana for an aura, most likely 2 or 3. So that's still a 5-6 mana investment, and all the ramp in the deck makes that possible. So I'm able to run all 3 of the aura tutors, even the 5-drop ones, and they work fine. So that gives me a flexible toolbox where I can go get Benevolent Blessing, Temporal Isolation, Spirit Link, Armadillo Cloak, etc. So that gives me a lot of flexibility, whether it's Benevolent Blessing blocking a hypothetical freed from the real, or Temporal Isolation stopping a burn engine, whether it's Malcolm's pingers or whatnot, etc. Or just getting the lifelink for myself or getting a protection spell for myself. So that is a very fundamental part of how the deck works. And I think I deployed 3 Aura Tutors over the course of this turn. But then on top of that, we've just seen a big uptick over the last year or two in the quality of white removal, where it used to be all 3 mana stuff, and we have a lot of 2 mana instants, but it's all tied to the number of creatures you have. Well, I'm a go wide deck. I ramp with dorks, and then I have big beaters. So I'm usually I don't think I went below like 3 creatures after turn 3 and on the entire tournament. I had 3 creatures, no matter what. So I always had at least 3 damage from a Slash of Light or 6 damage from a Thraben Charm available. And those really are what took this. If we hadn't had that shift in what commons we were seeing for removal in white, this deck would not work.
Were you at all concerned about board wipes?
Yes, absolutely. I did not want to run into Ryan. I had talked about Anima with him like a week before, and I had been using, because I've got a Dusk Mangler high-powered deck that is a very similar concept. Big black mana, play all the edicts, Grave Flicker your commander, etc. And the commander has Burn and Edict attached to it. Yep, fantastic. Love it. I did not want to see it, and I didn't. I got lucky.
I didn't get to play against him either, but yeah, the whole concept of a saga seems weird. But
yeah, so I was very worried about board wipes, and Duke Slayer on Apocalypse Runner was the main time that I knew from talking to Garge that they weren't actually running wipes. And then, so Duke Slayer was the main person I ran into that I was actually worried about wiping my board. I was also a little worried about Cobra the first game, but then after seeing his deck play out, I didn't think he was doing wipes. So I just kind of stopped worrying about it.
Yeah, Russell was the one that got me with the board wipe. So
well, I wasn't even playing around that in the final game. Whoops.
I mean, so it's a matter. He wasn't playing all of them. He was just playing. I got hit by a Sulfurous Blast. So
yeah, that would have rocked my boat.
So yeah.
So the finals was Russell on Emperor of Palmetia, Alcadron on Booster Buggy that had already gotten 2 wins. Like, hot damn, that thing now has a very positive, a very above average win rate, and that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I love it.
So it's hilarious, but also, like, if not to belabor the point, but like taking a Dave, I think you would agree, is a extremely proficient pilot. He understands the meta. He understands magic, mechanics, all of that stuff. He has
the persistent pressure from the commander that is too easy to dismiss in the early game.
Yeah. So taking that and putting it with what most people would consider to be a subpar. I don't think anybody would take a second look at the buggy. So,
like I said, I didn't understand it when he talked about it at RIW. Like, I could look at it and the dots weren't connecting for me until I saw him play it.
So if you are a player who understands Magic, you can take something that's non-mainstream and do very well with it. That's all I'm saying.
I've outlined the way he beats face with it and the way he surprise closes out games with it. But the other element that's so interesting about it is the deck has a ton of card draw. The commander's creating treasures, so he can do things like demand answers, Aki, Scrap Chomper, etc. He draws a lot of cards. He drew. So even when I had Bonder's Ornament online and was drawing an additional card every turn, that's the kind of draw power that this Cruel deck also brings to the table, which is hilarious. I love it.
So yeah, I try new things, kids. Yep. So at what point in the finals there was you had did you just
so we had a burn deck that could do catastrophically fast burn if you let them finish setting up. We had Booster Buggy that could just like one shot murk people if you let them set up. Like it felt almost like playing a hybrid deck with like a combo backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
Was kind of the feel of playing against Alk. So you always had that tension. Really fun, interesting play pattern to go against. And then the third player was Garge on Long Fang.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of like, we found out at the end he had Brood Scale in his opening hand, and we just never gave him a window where he felt safe.
Myra was playing Longfang.
Yep, that's Garge. So like she had Brood Scale in her opening hand, and they were right. They didn't have the window. I had the mana for a Crib Swap the whole time. So the combo player absorbed a lot of the attacking attention early on, and Emperor of Palmetia absorbed a lot of the removal early on, and it was just me and Alk whittling down the table. And in the end, once again, I used burn to my advantage. Alk was at like high teens life or mid-teens life total, and I had like a lot of life gain going on still. I was still at like, even with someone piling in on me, I was still at like high 20s, or no, mid 20s. And then so Russell got an attack off with Emperor of Palmetia like after it had transformed, and like burned the table for 11 or 12, I think. Maybe even, yeah, I think it was 11. And so Alk was on death's doorstep after that. Garge was dead, and that was when I knew I had it. So once again, letting burn do their thing because I can absorb it and clean up afterwards. That was very much the story of the day for me.
So I didn't pick this up earlier when I was quickly going through. So Myra had in the Longfang deck had the Brood Scale, Ashdod's Altar, Master Chef. So
we also were staring at cards and putting together a hypothetical combo while we were sitting there at the table. They like had discarded Lotus Petal. They had Mere Scrappling in play, and what was it? There was something else. There was a way they could. Oh, and they had Sadistic Glee. We knew they had Sadistic Glee in hand. They got it off of a Commune with the Gods. So we kind of like we had pieced it together. Like if they play Evolution Witness and put Sadistic Glee on it, then they could sack Mere Scrappling, which gives between Scrappling itself putting a plus Homestone counter and then Sadistic Glee putting a plus Homestone counter, they can get back 2 permanents. That's Lotus Petal and Scrappling. So Lotus Petal sacks to give you the mana to replay Scrappling. So that's a loop. So if they have any of their, outs for that loop, that is a potential combo. So like, just keep our eye on them just in case.
Yeah. So there's some aristocrat stuff in here. So you got Persist, sack outlets, Master Chief, which puts stuff on counters on creatures, Falcon Wrath Noble. So there was a couple of a variety of angles being employed.
It was a really interesting deck. So one of the tricks they pulled was they had trouble hitting land drops, but they managed to ritual out a Fetid Gargantua, and they threw Sadistic Glee on top of that. So, like, I attacked someone, something died in combat, and they were going to get a bunch of plus Homestone counters from Sadistic Glee and draw stupid amounts of cards. And then I was like, nope, stop that. Gonna exile your thing with Crib Swap. And then they just responded by sacking Mere Scrappling and drawing 4 cards anyway. Yeah. It's a very, very interesting deck. They were the only combo player at the pod, and they kind of felt the brunt of it. But it's a very cool deck because of how it can threaten combo, but it's also very good at building combat defenses. And if she had hit her land drops, it would have been a very different game because I wouldn't have been able to punch through nearly as often.
God bless Mana Screw, right? Makes that easy.
Yep, it happens. That's my one win against Puzzle Box on Gretchen was because he got mana screwed.
So as per usual, I'll link the top deck bracket link into the putting the individuals. So Top Deck this year introduced this thing where they're scraping deck lists. Now deck lists come to Top Deck in the form of user submitted lists directly to Top Deck, and then Top Deck scraping from Moxfield, submitted links. So some of these lists are manually entered and others are scraped from. So I can't just go to Moxfield and pull all the individual lists that you want to see, because some of those don't exist. So I'll just add
it's also nice because it
event
means
link.
we don't have being copied lists by TOs that are then clogging up, like PDH rec, for example.
Yeah, those bastards, those TOs. Sweet. All right, so quick recap. We're at just over an hour, and you didn't have to run away for the kids. Was there? All right. So lessons learned from this tournament. What is the number one advice that you would give on lessons learned?
In the burn meta, if you have life gain, let the burn player work for you. And also, just there's a lot of mid-range shells out there that are underexplored that have the removal, the mana advantage, the card advantage available to really fight a value game plan. You don't have to be playing blue. We have the tools, we have the technology.
Mm-hmm. We just got to build it.
Yep.
Sweet. All right. Last, anything you want to add? Of course,
if you don't playing with that one, it was a wonderful, amazing day.
Yeah. So big shout out to Ginger, who is kind of taken charge of doing stuff and making things happen, making moves, money moves. I would ask you to expect greater things from that guy and his team. He comes with a team in the future. So that's all I got to say about that. All right. Yeah, if you don't know where to find Paul, you're not trying hard enough. If you accidentally post on some social somewhere, Paul usually will find you. So
there's people on the internet. Got to stop that.
So yeah, Paul, my friend, I'm glad we finally got to make this happen. Yeah, it's amazing that. When did you win RIW 23?
Summer 23. So I've won with combo with the Scopa Guild Mage. I've won with mid range with Veteran Beast Rider. So now I just have to win with aggro and control. Fine.
Yeah. All right. The gauntlet has been tossed. Sweet. All right, my friends. Paul, thank you. Appreciate you. Until the next time.